tragedy?
Tragedy. We've been batting the word around a lot, but what exactly does it mean in our context? Like when we say, the play King Lear is a tragedy. Well, we mean that King Lear is a work of art, in this case, dramatic art, and its form is that of a tragedy. Though the play can be described as sad or depressing, because it's a great work of art, we can also describe it as intellectually enlarging, ennobling, and uplifting. Why is that?
Well, you know, real life is disordered and jumbled. But when crafting a tragedy or any drama, the artist can focus on the essentials of the story, consider causes and reasons, and make the experience of the tragic character our experience.
How does the playwright make the experience of the tragic character our experience? Through imagination, and in the case of Shakespeare, imagination is expressed through, you guessed it, language. This is some pretty heavy stuff, but let's put it all together.
Tragic figures are noble figures who are somehow better than we are. They suffer a reversal of fortune and recognize the consequences of their actions. And in art, a tragedy is the imaginative depiction of the tragic figure, which moves the audience to pity and fear.
So one of the elements of the tragic figures is that they face uncommon suffering with uncommon dignity. The poet William Butler Yeats described the kind of tragedy such as King Lear as a terrible beauty, and even though it's a paradox, it gets right to the heart of the matter.
The terrible part is the extreme suffering the tragic figure faces. The beauty part is the dignity with which the tragic figure endures that extreme suffering.
My friends, when we see a tragedy and experience what the tragic figure experiences, we undergo a purging of emotions. That's what I call catharsis.
Why in the world would we be interested in seeing a human suffer so much? You know, why would we want to see what happens to King Lear? He goes mad, 2 of his daughters betray him, his best friend has his eyes gouged out, his youngest daughter dies, and then he dies at the end. I mean, it's just totally depressing, isn't it? All right, easy now. There's more to it than that. It's the beauty side, again, of Yeats' terrible beauty. We see King Lear fight and fight against all his suffering, maintaining his dignity in the face of great calamity. Throughout this process, we see the true measure of a man. And this is what impresses and moves us.
Let's review what we've learned. In art, tragedy is the imaginative depiction of the tragic figure. Tragic figures are noble figures who are better than we are. They suffer a reversal of fortune and recognize the consequences of their actions. The audience who watches these actions and their consequences is moved to pity and fear.
When we experience great tragedy in art, we are enlarged and ennobled, because we've seen the magnitude of human suffering and the extent of human potential.
Okay, we can better understand Shakespeare as a writer of tragedies if we put his work in perspective. To do that, we'll look at what dramatic tragedy was like before Shakespeare. We'll discuss Oedipus Rex, an example of Greek tragedy, as well as tragedy during the Middle Ages. Let's start with the play Oedipus Rex.